There's a stigma around mental health in the sports world, but at the same time, I feel like, especially at Kansas State, we're offered so many people around us, so much support staff, to the point where if you are ever feeling like you are struggling mentally or emotionally, you have people to reach out to.
You can't get caught up chasing results if you don't love the grind. The grind and results go hand in hand. You know, like you have to grind in order to get results. And I think that's what we're kind of living through right now.
I don't see it as a bad thing, honestly. Finishing what we started, I mean, it kind of gave us that mentality as kids and the mindset that just to have no quit. And from a sport aspect, that's what you want, no quit, keep grinding, because there's going to be days that are hard. There's going to be days that you don't want to do it, but you can't quit. You just got to keep going.
I learned that it's all right to feel scared and lost, and you really need to like express your emotions and sort through them and just understand what you're going through. And then to help your mental health, you have to like love what you do. And here at K-State, it's a great culture, and so that really helps if you're doing what you love with people that you enjoy and the culture's great. It makes it a lot easier.
Another thing I learned to do, it's not good to shame somebody for having mental health issues. Like, you need to help the person out because it's a serious matter and it's not to be joking around with. That's also why a lot of people don't go and get the help they need, is because they feel like their peers are going to make fun of them or tell someone else. So
especially athletes with champion mindsets are told to mask and hide their emotions. I think that starts at a young age, playing sports and wanting to be great. You're told that males especially are not supposed to show emotion, to be perceived as someone that's strong, and if you do show emotion, you're perceived as someone that's weak.
I like it especially because of the phrase that athletes need to become someone before something.
Or the takeaway that I got from that was when she says, I teach them what they do is playing the sport. The sport is not who they are. I think that's really important in today's world, that we can get so defined as in that we only play sports. Like, you get so wrapped up that I play football, that is my personality, that is who I am. And I think she does a really good job of explaining that just because you play a sport or you are involved in some kind of activity, that is not actually what defines you. And I think that's really important in today's world.
I don't think athletes should feel like they have to hide their mental health struggles and know that it's okay to show weakness sometimes.
I can definitely understand like the mental toll and like emotional toll that it can take on you playing like competitive sports, and I personally put like a lot of pressure on myself to perform, so like and also I know like parents can put expectations and like coaches and all that, so and I think it's definitely, there's just like, you got to find that like healthy balance between making sports like a hobby and not letting it like completely control your life. Yep.
See all the things that some of the athletes go through, and for her to think that it's so toxic to not even let her own kids go into that is kind of crazy, just to show you how serious of a concept this is and how not a lot of people talk about it. And I think more people need to address this issue.
What's going on, Joe? I think it was one of your bullet points when it said once you realize what you want, everything kind of starts to get a lot easier. And I kind of wanted to expand on that just because I really think if you kind of put your mindset towards one thing and kind of one area, I think you can be very successful in that part.
Not to focus on the end result, like focus on the process more than the end result, because like, and you got to control what you can control, because there's so many things.
Focusing on the results all the time, in high school, college, my whole life. I feel like focusing on the results really caused a lot of stress on myself and made my confidence really just go down. And this is something I really just need to work on. I feel like I've been working on it recently. I feel like I can just get better by just not focusing on the results. And the second thing is you have to be someone before you're something. I feel like it's another good thing that comes in my mind, because you must trust the process. Like, you can't just expect to be the best or expect to be like the greatest or something. You have to just take your time step by step and just do everything right, and then when the time comes, it will be your time to shine.
People struggle with mental health and stuff, and like sports and everything. I don't know, it can be hard at times because like you're always competing and you always feel like there's a lot expected of you, and just going out and just being able to perform every day.
That 10 to 15% of athletes, only 10 to 15% of athletes reach out when they're experiencing emotional struggles. And that really stands out to me because athletes have to feel like they have to fit this image to where nothing can ever be wrong with them. And there's always so many resources for athletes to use. I mean, we have so many resources here at K-State, and I just think that people need to be more comfortable to reach out for help when they're experiencing mental struggles.
Presentation was the lack of athletes currently seeking help with emotional and mental health issues. She talked about sports culture and how athletes are brought up on the principle that emotions are supposed to be set aside and ignored during training and competition. Personally, I admire athletes who have the courage to seek help and who are comfortable sharing how they feel with professionals around them in their sport.
The beauty of sports is you learn from your mistakes, you learn from the pressure that you deal with, and like obviously like how we incorporate is, you know, through our running and our conditioning, our lifting, we have adversity, and Coach True really focused on, you know, beating that adversity. And I think it's important that, you know, athletes learn on themselves as well how to do that. I think that's really the beauty of sports, and that's why I love sports, is it challenges me day in, day out. And there's days that, you know, everyone feels like they want to quit, or they just hate their, you know, what they're doing. They may hate the sport for a day or whatever it may be. But I think it's really important that athletes understand how to fight for themselves, I guess.
When she was saying, and it was a fun process, as they say in the video, you know, the trainers and all that stuff, you gotta enjoy the ride. And I've been grinding my whole life, so I really enjoyed the ride. And that's right. And then that's how I got here today.
The second one about toxic sports environment and mental health reminded me to be aware of my own mental health and be a kind, caring, and aware teammate.
Sports are what you do, not who you are. And this really, I think was very important and stood out to me because being, as like college athletes or athletes at this level, most people have played it like their entire lives, and it's like all they've really done. So people associate, you know, the sport with who they actually are. And then in the TED Talk, they talked about how it's important to separate, you know, what you do as a sport with who you are.
You can't be okay with certain stuff. Like, you really have to keep going and push forward. Like, don't be okay with like messing up with the little things. Like, the little things matter too if you want to be successful.
Like, suck it up, go through it, just play through it, or you don't need to talk about your feelings and everything. So watching those two videos, I could see like mental health being the main issue, because that's one of the main issues today in today's life, and like athletes' life and everything. I can see that in a little bit of my peers and myself.
I think for athletes, especially men, we like to just hold our anger in and stuff like that until it gets the best of us. With experience, it's not the right thing to do. We should go talk to someone, and we don't use our resources like we should and what we have given to us, especially at this Division I level.
The best ways to achieve winning, but they didn't kind of disregard the emotional side of things. And I just thought it was really interesting how she was in tune with that, and how she had experience only knowing how to win. She wasn't even having fun winning, even though she had success. She was just doing what she was taught and what she was told, instead of making sure she was okay mentally. Thank you.
One thing in the TED Talk that stood out to me was just when she talked about like our culture when it comes to sports, and like a winner's culture, how we're taught like that you have to win, you have to succeed, and that it's okay to not be okay. That stuck out to me because like a lot of times in sports, or even like when we're working out, you know, it's always standards over feelings, and it's always, you know, the program over you, the program over how you're feeling. And so a lot of times it can go like unrealized, that athletes are dealing with stuff that may not even be on the field, just off the field, and they just push it to the side.
Hey Joel, and for our Cats Culture assignment this week, after I enjoyed the 2 videos that you provided us, I chose the bullet point as do as you're told, don't show emotions, and suck it up and run. And what I think about this bullet point is that, well, basically you have to do that in every single athletics. If you want to be great at something, then you have to do this stuff. And I understand what the videos are about how mental illness and everything like that. But in my own personal perspective, I feel like if you want to be great at something, you truly need to put your emotions aside, do what's best for the team, and just play the game.
Of self-doubt, not feeling good enough, depression and sadness, but also feeling amazing by, you know, just that adrenaline rush and just, you know, the high you get from making a big time play, or, you know, making the people around you, you know, happy because of what you're doing, or making yourself happy for what you're doing. Growing up in a sports family household, having a dad play Division I football, there was a lot of expectation for me, just, you know, to do my best, and, you know, just to live up to his standard, and that was a pressure I put on myself. So going throughout high school and not having any offers, it was definitely a lot of times where I felt down, or I didn't feel like I was good enough to be doing what I'm doing, or I didn't feel like I was, you know, being the best I can be.
As an athlete, we're always told to be relentless and fearless, but sometimes this comes at a cost. Oftentimes, this comes in the form of mental health. I've even experienced this within my life and in high school. I feel like mental health, especially these days, is becoming a huge issue, and why this mentality is good to hide our emotions and to be strong.
Athletes are always held to a standard that they're always supposed to perform good, and on the field, they're always supposed to have this great emotion, but off the field, they're supposed to have the same emotion, and they can't show any, you know, signs of being sad or weakness. And I think that kind of goes into my next point about getting help, is athletes do struggle with a lot of things off the field, and it is okay to get help. I know a lot of male athletes don't want to get, you know, mental help or talk to anybody, which I think it's, you know, important for people to talk to, get things off your mind, and just have people to talk to that not always about athletes, but just in life in general.
I feel like, I don't know, like if some days when I'm feeling like down or something, I choose to not say anything because I feel like the coaches might feel a certain way about it sometimes. So I guess I could relate to the TED Talk in that way.
A lot of people. I have a friend right now that still struggles with his head. I help her through it all the time. Like, it's almost a nightly thing. I just think it's a thing that people need to learn to talk about. People talk about mental health this, mental health that, but like when it comes to it, they're not really reaching out and helping other people.
One thing that stood out to me in both of these videos is caring more about growing as an individual and working on your craft, and not necessarily focusing on the results of what happened while in competition. It's more important for people to not get so caught up in the results of what happened. Yeah, there's always going to be a winner and a loser, but just because you lose doesn't mean you didn't win in some aspect of what you're trying to achieve, which is becoming a better individual and a better player.